Hi guys and welcome to Faewood. So I now have the long-awaited new studio tour. I've been promising this for a little while, but if you guys have been watching my channel, you'll know I've been working very hard on this thing back here, which is my new backdrop. I had a completely different setup before and it broke, and it was like one of the drawers broke of the cabinet I had, so I decided to replace it all and really create something amazing. And it's been a lot of work, but it's been a lot of videos for you guys, and I love the finished product, so I wanted to wait for that. Also some new cupboards, which the video is already up, so you will have seen that. Yeah, I wanted to wait for some of those things before showing you guys around my studio again. Now, you may remember, if you have watched the video, one of my first videos, I did a studio tour as I think my second video, and in fact it was one of the big reasons why I started my channel, because originally I was first filming the studio thinking I was going to put it up on Etsy, because Etsy changed, it was a while ago now, but they made it so that you could upload a short video to your store as a way to show what you do, or your studio, or whatever. Funnily enough, even though that was my motivation for filming the studio, I never actually turned it into a video that I could use on Etsy, because you have to have a really small file and everything, so I still haven't done it. I really should probably put something up there, so that might be a project that I'll have to remind myself to do. But anyway, that was my motivation to get started filming on YouTube, and it wasn't my first video, because I think I did film it first, but I actually uploaded a different video before that. It was one where I went out and about to a market and filmed that, but yeah, the studio was definitely like the initial sort of motivation for me to get started. And I won't lie, I was pretty nervous. And I did do a lot of work on the studio before I filmed that video, because, you know, we hadn't been in the house very long. In fact, my studio used to be in a room downstairs, which is now our bedroom. Originally, I was going to have the whole bottom floor as a studio, and it has its own access. I was potentially going to teach out of there. I became very sick. I am chronically ill, as some people who watch me would know. If you don't watch me, then yeah, I have a chronic illness that I'm at the moment trying to investigate and work out what's going on with me. Anyway, so teaching would have been a bit difficult because of how ill I was. I am doing a lot better now, but I won't go into that right now. Anyway, so originally I had a different room for my studio, and then we actually bought a massive bed, like a king-size bed, and it wouldn't fit in any of the bedrooms up here very well. We couldn't work out where to put it. So we decided, well, I decided to give up my studio down there and move my studio up here. And I love it. I really like all the light in this room. It's not as big as the area downstairs would have been, but honestly, unless I was actually having classes, I don't need that much room. And this room in here is perfect for me. It's a great size. I mean, as I go along, you know, as any creator does, you tend to fill up spaces pretty quickly, and you could easily continue to expand, I think. I think most creative people can attest to that. Anyway, I was still really happy with how the studio was looking, but it has changed a lot. It's evolved heaps since then. Now that I've got a new backdrop, I've had new cupboards put in, I've bought new bits of furniture, my husband's made different things for the studio, and yeah, it's really changed a lot. And so I thought it was a good time to do a new tour, because it's entirely different to what it used to look like. and I'll show you in all the nooks and crannies, and you can see the whole studio and what it looks like, because you see bits and pieces when I film, but you know, you sort of mainly see a section that I'm pointing at. So anyway, without further ado, let me show you around my studio. Alright guys, so let's start here. I'm actually using my phone to film this instead of my big camera because it's just a bit easier to hold and carry around. You can see my mirror that I created. This is one of the tutorials that I have on my site. I definitely encourage you guys to check it out and give this sort of thing a go, because you can recreate it with any flowers and leaves and things, and any sort of miscellaneous stampings you might have and all of that. But I love this mirror. And there's me. Hi. I've got some, oh, I don't know if I can show you. I've got very nice eyeshadow on today, which I can't seem to work out how to film me. Got to get the right angle. My husband gave me some very nice eyeshadow for my birthday, which I must share with you guys in a video. I won't go into it now. So anyway, you can see I have a little setup here of decorations. I've got my little raven. You guys may remember that I used to be the craft nerd, and then decided to change the name because I was not just about craft, and I don't want to just be about tutorials. I really want to, I want to inspire you guys, but I want to, you know, connect with you and not just tell you how to make things. Because, you know, I don't know, I think it's so nice to have just an inspirational sort of channel and, you know, explore different creative things in life. So I did make a change to Lady of Faewood because I felt like it suited my sort of whimsical side, and I could still, you know, be creative, but I didn't feel locked into being just craft. So feel free to use the craft nerd if you are so inclined to have a channel yourself. Anyway, down here you can see I've got some dark crystal and labyrinth pieces there. Of course, I've got my Jareth up there, which I love. I won those things at the Goblin Ball for Best Dressed, which was super awesome because I've never won anything like that before. I've got this little drawer which has, like, you know, stationery business cards. That's my massive stash of incense. I'm always burning incense in here. And my favourite being Pagan Magic. Love that one. And I burn that all the time. So, and then down underneath I've got some Brian Froud cards, like card sets, and a book. I couldn't fit those into, I'll show you in a minute, the other books I have of Brian Froud's. It was a bit tall, so I've got that in there. I'm not going to show you what's in that little bag. That's been something brewing for a video for a while that I haven't had time to do, so I won't spoil it. Eventually something in there will hopefully be a video. This is some material. I've recently filmed a craft haul where I spent way too much money on craft materials. Story of my life. And for a costume for this year's Goblin Ball, although I'm still yet to make sure I can get one of my friends to come along with me because I don't want to go by myself. So we'll see how that goes, but yeah, I bought the stuff for the costume nonetheless. Now up here, I'll shoot up here first. You can see that was part of my costume from last year's Goblin Ball, except for the pink mask. But the headpiece and the pauldrons, they were part of my outfit, and the headpiece and pauldrons glow because I put lights in there. So some of my necklaces, now that's the dark crystal necklace. There's a whole series of videos on how I created that, but yeah, some of these necklaces were well and truly made before YouTube days, actually all of them except for Olga. And so I've got a steampunk one there, and a beaded freeform one. These cupboards are pretty new. Like, I got them, was it this year? I've lost track of time, but relatively new to the studio anyway, and I'm still sort of working out where everything goes. I did have it, that's meant to be sitting up. So I painted that. That's obviously from a Brian Froud picture, but I used to paint his work all the time to learn painting techniques and drawing techniques. So that's a very old one that I painted. Got my little headband there, and then I've got some, oh, that's a painting of mine too. I don't love it, but yeah, it's alright. I've got it sitting there anyway. Some fairy bits and pieces. These are the little dragon horns that I wore to the mythical markets, but I don't know why. The paint doesn't want to stick on these very well, so I might have to repaint them. They've chipped away a little bit, but they did look very good, and I put them on with, is it called spirit gum? And they looked pretty cool. And that's another one of my paintings, again, of a Brian Froud picture. The Brian Froud picture is a lot better than mine, but I still love it. I love that fairy. If you do have a look at the original from Brian Froud, if I can find a picture, I might even insert it. It's so nice though, so I definitely want to try and paint it. Another painting of mine. Again, I don't love it. I'm not loving my originals for some reason. Oh, I love this little teacup. That is a present that Jen gave me for my 40th. And yeah, I love it. So I thought it would suit the studio so well. So I'll have to, I don't know, I feel like I want to like sit and drink tea with you guys on a video or something. I haven't quite worked out how to incorporate it into a video, but I want to. That's just like paperwork and pencils and business cards and stuff. Scales for when I'm sending things. I do a lot of my postage online because you can do that now with Australia Post. It's relatively recent, I believe, last couple of years or something, that they made it more accessible online. So I've got a couple of tripods at the back, a Joby one, which is really good quality, a little phone one, and then, oh, I haven't used this yet, but I bought a selfie stick because it's, you know, just going to be helpful for holding the phone up. My phone is really awesome for filming. I've got the Samsung S9 Plus, and like the image stabilization in this is better than my Canon. My Canon is much better as far as capturing different light and stuff like that, but it really needs a tripod. So definitely when I'm out and about, the phone's the way to go. I've got these little stamps, you know, like cut out stamp thingies that I got from Aldi, like super cheap, like $5 or something for the pack. It was awesome. I've got all the sort of washi tape stuff back there, which I honestly haven't used yet. I really must. It's so pretty. Over here I've got some tools. So I've got both my blowtorches for PMC. I've got a sander. Strangely, this is going to sound strange to some people, but I used the sander for felting. That was based on a tutorial that I used to learn felting, and it's a much faster way to agitate the felt than by hand. So recommend it. Get yourself an orbital sander. Worthwhile. I've got hot glue guns. I've got my Hot Fix crystal applicator, which I must use that again because, you know, adding crystals to things is like awesome. Like, I could easily embellish so many things if I had the crystals to do it. But I think I don't have a ton of crystals because they're not the cheapest, the Hot Fix crystals. Then I've got folders and things like that's a lot of that's business stuff. You know, exciting stuff like tax returns and all of that, receipts of, you know, stuff that I've needed for the business, all that kind of fun stuff. I've got a lot of magazines and books on beadwork and PMC and embroidery. And the black folder there, that's my art journal. You guys have seen me use that when I'm creating designs for necklaces and collections and all of that stuff. Definitely recommend you get yourself an art journal. You don't have to get a big A3 one like I did too. There's like, you can get tiny ones if you just want to, you know, a little sketchbook, especially if you want to take it with you. These are my coveted Brian Froud books. I don't have the full collection of Brian Froud books, but I tell you, I'd love to. You know, I always bought Brian Froud books whenever I saw them when I was younger, but I know that I'm missing quite a few these days because I haven't bought any for a while. I bought much more of them when I was doing more painting and sketching and stuff, and I don't paint anymore or sketch or whatever because, you know, I just don't have time to do everything, I guess. So I had to just decide what craft or creative things I had time to do. I mean, maybe if I retire, I'll get back into it because I'll have more time. But for now, not so much. I hide my bin around there because it's like out of the way. I've got some canvases down there that I was originally going to do some fibre art on. It's not something I've got around to yet either, but, you know, I've got them there for when I do want to do that. Some leftover containers that I didn't use. I did use like those hot chocolate ones for my altered art containers for my backdrop, and I had 2 leftover ones, so I can always use those. And I've got the little glass things there that I can decorate too if I want to. Random stuff there, again, something for a video which I won't show. And that's just like that blue case is like a makeup container that I thought could be good for storage in here. I'm not sure what I'm putting in it yet because, yeah, I haven't put anything in it yet. So, again, more sort of empty bottles, containers and things that I sometimes collect because I could use them for projects. So I've got those there, and I've even got a motherboard back there because I thought it'd be cool to use that in jewelry maybe. I did try and make some sense of what's in here and keep it kind of clean. I've got a ton of sponges. Pardon me. Both me and Dan have had a slight cold lately, so my throat's a little bit scratchy. So I used a lot of these for face painting originally, and now I just use them for various projects if I'm needing to sponge things. I love these natural sponges. I can't even remember what they're called, but they're just a natural, I think they're from like a coral type sponge or whatever. They just give a really nice look because it has uneven texture. It's more organic looking, so I do really like that. These are for felting. If you've ever felted, you might know that it's good to put some juggling ball things into the dryer when you're finishing off your piece, and it just helps it like the fibers bind. You know, the heat and the movement of these banging around with your felt piece helps all the fibres bind and become strong. And I've got a wire curler thingy, which I actually don't think I've ever used, to be perfectly honest. But, or maybe once, but yeah, I don't know why, but I haven't used that. I've got wooden skewers there. I just use those mainly for applying glue and stuff. And some glass cabochons that I got. These are just those real cheap ones you can use for vases and things like that, but they're good for beadwork as well because you can get different colours and everything. Oh yeah, zip tie things. I got those. These were my husband's ones, and he didn't need them. Actually, he might have got them from work for me or something, because they use them for cabling and stuff all the time. But you can use them for boning when you're doing like a corset. And when I did my first neck corset, because I did like 2 or 3 mock-ups before I did the final piece, I didn't want to use good boning, so I used this. And it works out really good. And apparently some people use it, you know, as for the final product as well, because it does have that similar kind of stiffness, but obviously limited length. You might be able to get longer ones, but yeah, it worked out good. In here is like texture plates, stamps, and molds. I never did use these, and I'm still not sure what to use them for because they're so massive. But yeah, I love the shape. I just wish they weren't so big. I've got some little cutters, you know, and these I got for PMC, but you know, could be handy as well for like polymer clay or whatever else. Another assortment of stuff. Polishing cloths, gloves for, you know, when I'm using tools or whatever. Fire, what's it even called? Like, I was going to say fire foam, but it's for PMC, it's fire retardant, so you can, you know, put your piece onto it and it's not going to be flammable. This is for firing. You wouldn't fire on this, but you'd put your piece on it afterwards. You fire on this fire brick, and just some other random stuff. And big mess of plastic bags. Yeah, it's a bit of a mess. I really probably should try and sort that out a bit better, but that's where all my plastic bags are. I've popped my art folders and things in here, so you can see I've got a number of folders with all my artwork from back from when I did fine arts and when I used to draw a lot and that sort of thing. I've kept it all. It's kind of a waste, I guess, in a way, because it's just all tucked away and it's not out to look at or anything, but you know, I've held on to it all. So can't go past these. My dragon wings, which are another video that I've got. They are a little on the heavy side. They've got some heavy duty straps to hold them on. I love the way they look though, and yeah, if I had have just made the bones a bit thinner, it wouldn't have been so heavy, but the look of them I think came out really, really cool because it looks kind of natural, like it could be a dragon skin with dragon scales. And I've still got my Bead Dreams finalist ribbons there. Over here, this is new. You guys would have seen the video where I painted these. My husband made these for me, and this used to be a cupboard with big orange doors, but we had to remove it because you can't open the door with the heater cooler there, and that was the only spot for it to go, because I mean I've got a real lack of wall space. It's mainly glass, or it's like angled walls and stuff, so it's a bit difficult sometimes to place things. So anyway, I put all my beads in here, and I just use different plastic trays for storing my beads. I have got a video showing my bead collection, which is quite large. It's probably not the largest. I know plenty of beaders who would have larger collections than I do, but you know, I've been collecting beads and beading and making jewelry for 15, 20 years, a long time. I sound old now. So, you know, you can imagine you do collect quite a bit of stuff over the time. Down here, I've got a variety of things, big tubs. I'll pull one out. Not fully, but like, it's really long sort of tub. That top one's got like leather offcuts in it. The one underneath it's all different threads and ribbons and things. And the one at the bottom is actually Swarovski crystals. So I won a substantial amount of crystals with the Swarovski Creator Style Beading Awards back when that was still going, and so, which was really awesome. So I've still got heaps of them left that I have stored there. Some of them I've put in containers, but these ones are in the factory packs. That's larger pieces of leather. And down the bottom here is all sorts of long things, because this cupboard's a lot longer. So I've got rolls of material. This is material I just recently bought for costume for the Goblin Ball. Rolls of like organza. I've got my tripod sitting in there at the moment because it's too long for other cupboards. And over here, so yeah, more beads and stuff. All this stuff's a bit of a mess because all of that is for the my two major projects that I'll be working on from now on, which are the Skeksis necklace and the Goblin Ball costume. So I did some damage. Again, that video will be coming. I'm not sure if it's going to be before or after this video, to be honest, but you'll see a video with all the stuff I got for the costume. And it cost me a pretty penny. Mainly the material cost me a pretty penny, to be honest. But hopefully it'll be awesome. We'll see. Hopefully it'll be awesome. Got high hopes. And I don't know. I'm doubting myself a little bit because I've never done it before. Like never created a corset or anything before. So we'll see how it comes out. I've created a neck corset. So similar. I'm sure that'll help. Anyway, down the bottom here I've got little paint palettes. A bunch of them actually, because they're really handy. I recently got a new one because after a while they get dirty and it gets to a point where like stuff won't come off them. That one I could probably clean up pretty good, but yeah, some of them have some really persistent glue that's tough to get off, so yeah, I must give those a soak actually. What is in that box? I don't know what's in this one. Oh yeah, just some feathers and, you know, leaves and stuff. I use a lot of different embellishments in my work, whether it be a costume or a necklace or whatever. So I love having some fabric, flowers and leaves and stuff on hand. Over here I've got some fascinator bases. I've made a number of fascinators over the time. I was going to make at one stage a bunch of them for my shop, and I do have some hair pieces on there, but I don't know, it's a bit hit and miss. Sometimes they sell and sometimes they don't. All in all, really, my shop's been pretty dead. So I'm sort of unsure whether I'll keep going with it, but yeah, we'll see. Oh, do you know, it's funny, I'm pretty sure this is a felting needle right here, and I've just bloody bought one because I couldn't remember if I had a needle for dry felting, because I haven't done it before, but I'm planning to do some. Okay, oh well, pretty sure that's what that is. Anyway, this is like embellishments. I'm not gonna dig through it because there's so much in there, and there's like lace and stuff rolled up and tied up on top, you know, beautiful things like silk lace, and I love this little pom-pommy one. I use a lot of this in my jewelry as a base. I really like the texture of lace and using different materials and fibers and stuff. These I got for steel, these big cards of lace. I think it was from the Bendigo markets years and years and years ago for like $2 a thing. And yeah, they're really handy. So less exciting down here is packaging stuff. So envelopes, express post envelopes, invoice sticker things, like ribbons, big packing tape thing, and all that sort of stuff. Oh, that's my empties bag. So I've changed over to a new bag now because the other one broke. And this one is something. What is that? Oh, right. That's actually some clothes that I need to alter. Or mend, probably more so. Oh, one of them I need to take up and a bunch to mend. And I don't know, they've been up here forever. So I really must get onto that. I've got tools here, so all different pliers. There's actually 2 rows, I don't know if you can see. It's not the best thing for holding pliers. I need to look into a better way to, I don't know, store my pliers. I'm not sure how I want to do it yet, so this is just one of those like shower, it's like a wire shower caddy that I've just sit them on. It's like a 2-tier one. I've got chasing hammer, I've got bead mats. I love this craft tidy, these are really handy, definitely recommend. I've got Nemo, however you want to say it, threads, KO threads, I don't know, I've got Eslon threads in there, a whole bunch. My triangles, got a bunch of triangles. This is all different needles and stuff, and there's needles in there and packets of needles and stuff, because when you do embroidery beadwork you need a lot of needles. And then down here I've got again sort of embellishments, but it's more things that I've like cabochons I've glued onto something to, you know, turn into something that I haven't done yet. I've got way too many of those where I've glued things down thinking I'll make a necklace out of that, and I never went back to finish it. So it's not even unfinished objects, it's just barely started objects. And then one of those bead well, it's sort of like a bead mat, but you know, the ones for larger beads that you can sit them, you know, to make a necklace. I made these, I made these little porcelain pieces in a class where you could use different transfers onto clay. So that was fun. And then underneath I've got different embroidery threads down there, and then bobbins there. And these are just some random, well, actually not random really, they were pieces that were maybe going to go into the Augur necklace that didn't end up going into the Augur necklace. A friend at work made a couple of those pieces for me, and they might actually make their way into the Skeksis necklace. potentially if the colours work. Otherwise I may even ask if she can create a couple more pieces for me because they were great. Down here I've got embroidery, like frames and stuff, and newspaper. I've got a light box thing there, which is in a container, you can't see it, and stationery and stuff like that. So I don't use the frames very often, but I was at one stage working with a fashion designer for a while and doing beadwork for her, and for that I needed to stretch material, and because it was very thin, you know, like satins and stuff like that and silks, and they needed to be stretched to do the beadwork. So that's where those came in. And you know, it could be handy down the track if I do decide to do some beadwork on something like that again. So that's that section anyway. And then, you know, at the top I've got fairy wands that I made and just some decorative stuff. I've got little lights on there. And then coming over here, I've got my crow or raven. I love this guy. He's so cool. And this was the jewelry tree. One of my first, actually no, it was my first tutorial. Big learning curve there. I didn't even know how to do like sped up filming and stuff like that. Like how to edit time lapses and stuff, which you absolutely have to do for the type of tutorials I do, because some of them are 9 hours, and I don't think any of you are going to sit there for 9 hours watching me create something. As much as you might enjoy my tutorials, I really doubt you're going to be there for 9 hours. Now these are new, or relatively new anyway. So I bought these to store all my tubes, which I'm loving. You can see like they fit real nicely in. You can see through them really well. So it's hard to show. I'm trying to hold the phone and hold this at the same time. But yeah, I bought a ton of them. As you can see, this is like double layer in, and same down there. So this is like all of my personal stash of seed beads. So the other beads are mainly larger beads, and for the most part my seed beads I keep in the tubes, and I've now got them in these containers, because when I had them just sitting in there it became a bit of a nightmare. You'd sort of pull them out trying to find, you know, what you were needing, and you'd have to dig through everything, whereas it's a lot easier to move a couple of containers and have a look and everything. And I've mainly color coded it, but it did it, you know, I didn't buy them all at the same time, so they're not fully color coded, but it's close. Oh, down there is a bunch of different magazines, and some books and stuff as well. And somewhere in there I've got a few magazines that I've got my work in, which I held on to. So that's always really cool to have your work in a magazine. I bought that for a work Christmas party, actually. This like wooden guitar thing that looks like a pirate. And yeah, it was like a rock and roll theme party, so I thought that could be pretty cool. And I've just hung it up here as decoration. Oh, while I'm at it, up there I've got my Jeweled Alchemy sign that I printed on the printer, and a piece of like felted flowers that I got from a local market. And I don't know if you're going to be able to see it, if it's going to show it very well, but I've got that snake that I created. Well, I didn't create the snake. We had the snake in the yard. was a wooden one, and I painted it up in the, you know, to represent Slytherin, because apparently, according to Pottermore, I'm Slytherin, which I wasn't happy about, but, you know, I've gotten used to the idea now, so that's fine. Oh, I love this thing. This is new, and this is from IKEA, and I think it was like $50, and it's just like a wheelie thing, which is going to be super handy. I've only had it for a little bit, but, you know, I love the idea of being able to put tools on there, glues, whatever you're working on, sitting in there and being able to wheel it about. This was in the cupboard, in this cupboard area. So it used to be in there because there was no shelves in there, so it was really hard to store stuff. So we bought this for me to be able to stack things onto. And I moved it out when we put those cupboards there, and I quite like it here. It's pretty handy. So I've just got, well, I've got decorations on top, of course. I've got trays that have different bits and pieces in them. Is there anything exciting in there? Yeah, some of it's jewelry pieces. Some of it's empty, actually. That stuff's PMC tools that I've got in there. And then down here's all my felting stuff, so and wool fibers and various things, so mainly wool, and then felt and silk stuff. Oh, this is some face painting stuffs in there. Actually, I won't open it because it's a bit hard with one hand, but I've got face painting stuff, which I think you would have seen if you saw the White Walker video, or I can't remember if I used it for any of my other face painting videos, but yeah, got some stuff in there. Now, these are cupboards that my husband made for me as well, and they're actually sitting on a couple of plastic tables, strangely enough, but yeah, this is just sort of how we arranged it so I could, you know, make the most of storage here. It was still kind of handy having the table because I could put my sewing machine on it. I can put stuff underneath the tables, and then I've got these shelves on top of the tables so I can store a ton of stuff. Oh yeah, and I love my he's a little dancing Groot. So when you put music on, he dances. So yeah, I've got paints and spray paints, dyes, like fabric dyes and stuff, shellac, and then some scissors and various other tools, and yeah, mainly acrylic paint down there, but then I've also got a few other things like rust paint. What else do I have? Liquitex. I've got a chalkboard paint and stuff like that. This is like glues and varnishes. Over here there's a heat gun in there and a hot glue gun in there, some brushes, and then like terps and stuff. Here I've got some stacks where I've got Swarovski crystals, and then a bunch of the different chains that I've got there, and then this is like all my like glitter and embossing powder and stuff like that. Down there's a bunch of different things actually, stickers, a little sketchbook, gold foil, or gold and copper and whatever foils. Then I've got, this is all clay stuff, polymer clay and the Super Sculpty, and then different tubing that I've used in various other projects, so there's heaps of that in there. I won't go into those because this video is already getting really long, but it's just like some materials in there. I've got mainly some like dyed stiff stuff that I've used in the past. Oh, I'll show you this one though. This is like different hair clip bases, because I make a bunch of hair clips and things for my website from time to time. So that's that. Now this is the filming area. This is the new filming area anyway. Depending on where I'm pointed. I mean, I was pointed towards those cupboards before. And this is the new backdrop over here that has all the different projects and things that I've been working on. And this is some candles that I've got, and some jewelry that I've made are all in these containers. This is jewelry for sale in my shop. I keep them in little plastic bags and things mainly. And some bags. That's the sporran that used to be my dad's. And I've just recently put in these little candle, like fake candle things, which are kind of cool. I don't know. What do you guys think? Too much? I don't mind them. And then I've got my little tree there, which I think is cool. I got that on special after Christmas for like $30 or something. It was really cool. And yeah, lights up and everything. And this is my bust that I put my costume bits and pieces on from time to time. So that's some of the costume from the Goblin Ball, as well as a neck corset I've made in the past. Oh. I made a staff for a Maleficent costume, which wasn't on YouTube. That was before YouTube. Yeah, and some wings on her and stuff like that. You can see I've got some pretty heavy duty lights, which is making the camera flash a little bit, but they're actually workers' lights, like, you know, for building construction sites, but they're so bright. It's perfect for the backdrop. And you can see my camera there with the mic. And then I'll quickly take you over here, and then I think we'll be done. So just up here I've hung up my fairy wings. So on either side of the room I've got, you know, dragon wings on that side. Ugh, might turn that light off. Ugh. That's better. That light was going a bit mental. So yeah, you can see my dragon wings there, fairy wings here. And then a little decorative part here where I've put little fairies and flowers. And then this is a cupboard for storage as well. And I just keep, now I've changed things around so I keep stuff that I don't need to access as often, because it's a little more difficult to get in and out of this one. So I've got some of my packaging stuff, like extra stuff. I've got some drop sheets. I've got like a casserole dish that I use for dyeing stuff. I think I've got art supplies in those, or I might have moved the art supplies. Oh yeah, I think I might have moved them, but I've used those for like these two bags for like carrying art supplies around with me, or beading supplies. When I used to teach, I'd carry one of those filled with beads. And some boxes and some books that I've held on to again for a project which hasn't happened yet. So yes, I think that's it. Alright guys, so I hope you've enjoyed having a look around my studio with me. Maybe you've got some inspiration from something that you see in my studio that you'd like to put into your own studio. I definitely encourage people to, you know, think about some sort of storage solutions like I've got back here that are not just your standard containers. You know, do them up, make it beautiful, make it really pleasing to you. And everyone's going to be different with what they like. I obviously love a fantasy whimsy sort of style, so that's why I've gone for the apothecary sort of curiosities backdrop. But you know, you could use any sort of theme and really deck out your creative space so it's more than just storage of creative things. Anyway, hit subscribe if you want to see more malarkey from myself. I do all sorts of weird and wonderful things here, all generally creative, themed or fantasy and whimsical sort of stuff. That's what we're all about here in Faewood, and adventures that I get up to and all of that sort of thing. And for the rest of you, I'll see you next time in Faewood. Bye guys!